welcome to the EmpowerYou Financial Podcast. I am your host, Eva Palacios.
And I'm your co-host, Damian McGee. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. We made it to 2, so that means either...
You made the cut.
I would say either I was good enough the first time to not get fired, or you just haven't found my replacement yet, so I'm still here. Either way, I'll take it.
Gotten some DMs to replace you. Just kidding.
Hey, send me your resumes. I will personally review them.
Just kidding.
So hold on. So that's funny that you say that, because you were telling me that you did get some DMs with people like, hey, who's the new guy? Where'd the new guy come from? Who's this guy?
Who that?
Yeah. So I don't know. Am I do I have to put, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to send everybody my resume, or what are we doing?
No, I think we should definitely let the people know who you are.
Yeah, I just told them I'm Damian McGee.
Stop. No, for reals. Yes, obviously people are curious. Shout out to those who are curious. Let's be real. I was not about to do a podcast by myself.
Right.
That's just not me.
Right.
Me talking out of thin air with nobody in front of me listening. I'm like, that's not going to work for my personality.
So wait, I'm just a prop. You're like, I just need somebody to bounce all these sounds off of.
No. That sounded really bad.
I mean, it's fine. Luckily I have tough skin, so we're okay. We're all right.
No, because I can't just have anybody on my show, on purpose. And again, I strongly believe God places the right people on my path at the right time.
Right.
And at the end of the day, you've been a part of the Lions program since day one. And just being around you, learning from you and all of your levels of intelligence, as we were talking about the podcast, as far as evolving and where the future of EmpowerYou is going, I'm like, man, you're kind of smart. But most importantly, you really pick my brain.
Right.
You really dig deep and get me thinking. Right. So I'm like, okay, let's give the audience that. Let's give the audience really, if y'all haven't noticed on episode number 1, he's very stern, very...
What? I'd say I cry a lot on episode 1.
Very, very stern, very intentional, very organized. And I'm just let's go. So I think in terms of compatibility, it's good.
Yeah.
And I just think you bring a lot to the table that's really going to just add so much more value to the audience. And especially with your story, especially with, how you came across EmpowerYou, what you've gone through in terms of the coaching program. At the end of the day, you literally absorbed all of my coaching.
Oh, yeah.
And implemented it.
Yeah. And
have created multiple success stories for yourself. So I'm like, let's go.
I
found my new co-host.
I would not be here. Literally here, but I wouldn't be where I am without your coaching. That's 100%. I'm not saying that because we're sitting here talking. I mean that. I believe that. I tell everybody that. It just, first of all, thank you for those really nice words. You were saying I was smart and stuff like that, so I kind of started looking around. I just want to make sure we were still talking about me.
What?
But I'm glad. I'm glad that we were, and I appreciate that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know where you want me to start. I guess the biggest thing that I would say is that part of why it is such an honor for me to sit across from you in this space is because I do wholeheartedly believe in the impact that you have on the people that you work with. And you've heard me say this a million times. There are Black and brown people who have been told all kinds of craziness about money, about credit, about wealth, about how to spend money, what they should buy, and you don't find a lot of people that look like us that are teaching people the real fundamentals of what to do with their money.
Absolutely.
Now, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of people online who are hustling people with all these quick fix. I got a letter you can send, and I have a text message you can send to the CEO of the credit bureaus, and they'll delete your whole credit report, like whatever. But yeah, no, there's just there just aren't a lot of people who are teaching it the way you teach it, but honestly, who know it the way you know it. And like you said, I pick your brain till I'm trying to find the thing you don't know. I'm like, what if we do this? And you're like, well, I'm like, what if we do it on a Tuesday? And you're like, well, right? So yeah, no, I appreciate the compliments, but I am, as far as this space is concerned, you know, I am where I am because of you, and I really do mean that. So I owe you a lot. Yeah.
Yay.
Don't cry. Nobody wants to hear that on the podcast.
No, we ain't crying about that. And like, that's super important to me. Again, for me, it's never about making the money. It's about impacting people. Yeah. But most importantly, knowing that what I'm teaching, people can understand.
Yeah.
They can execute and literally transform their lives.
100%.
And that, to me, I'm like, let's go. Because it's all about creating those success stories. Yeah. And that's what I tell people all the time. It's like, okay, well, who are you working with? Who is coaching you? Who are you paying for services? And where are their receipts?
Yeah.
Who have they helped?
Yeah.
Like, you may have been like, oh, my cousin told me to go to this person. Did they actually help your cousin? Mm-hmm. Like, guys, it is so important to know who is taking your money and what are you getting in return. Yeah. And I still remember the day one. I'm sure if we can scroll back into the Facebook DMs.
I hope not. Because I think
I should. We should read the script.
That probably wasn't my proudest moment. I was pretty agitated at that point.
But let's talk about it, because I think that is so important, because there are people that are in the position that you were in when you first reached out to me.
Absolutely.
And I just remember, because you know me, like, I'm doing my thing. I've got a lot of DMs. So I'm just like kind of scrolling through and answering as best as I can. And I just remember your DM coming through. And it was something along the lines of, so can you tell me what you do differently compared to all the other guys?
That pretty much sounds like exactly what I would write. I 100%.
There was no hello.
No,
there was no, I'm David McGee.
You're not my friend. I don't know you. You don't need to know me. Why are you different? And why are you not full of it like everybody else is?
Guys.
Yeah.
When I tell you he came at me some sort of way, I was like, hold on. This isn't even a textable moment.
Right.
This is a voice record type response. Yep. And I love it. I love it because as I continue to get those types of messages, I know it's coming from a space of a bad past experience.
Oh, yeah.
So, guys, when people like ask you certain questions, like, don't feel like, who does he think he is talking to me like that? Mm-hmm. That's what makes my mind go like, okay, wait a minute, like, where is this coming from? Yeah. And me being in the space that I've been in for over 20 plus years, I already know where it's coming from. Yeah. I know it's coming from a bad past experience. So let's show them how Eva is different. Let's really show the
answer
people.
The question.
And answer the question. Like, no fluff. Which is why, because we all know, you text, sometimes them words can get jumbled and it may not come off in a certain way. So for me, I'm like, no, I got a voice record. Yeah. And I just remember, I don't know if you remember, but I remember having a certain tone in my voice to where I knew, and the impression, like, let's be real. I'm a Latina. I'm a woman. Responding back to somebody of your caliber, in my mind, African-American, big guy, he's coming at me a certain way. I got to do even more work to be able to prove my level of intelligence. Okay. So when I responded back, I'm like, I'm sure I said, hey, what's up? So let me just let you know, like, who I am and what I'm about. Yeah. And I start with my story. Yeah. And I answered the question, like, what separates me versus the other guys is no fluff. You're going to get the real.
Yeah.
If you need help improving your credit, I'm going to tell you what it takes to get done. And I'm not here to like drag out time. I'm not here to just take your money. I want you to be ready to invest and making sure you're ready to make the moves you need to make based on my coaching.
Yeah.
And that's legit how I answered it. And then it turned into a longer conversation.
Actual conversation, right.
Which I did feel, you kind of, drop some walls a little bit.
Yeah.
But that is honestly because I know what I'm doing. And I've been in the space for so long that no matter what you throw at me, like, I'm going to give you the game.
Yeah. I think that goes to why you do what you do, right? So imagine if you're one of these people who are doing this, but you're just, how much money can I get? How much of these, stupid kits can I sell and tell everybody this will magically fix their credit and whatever? So if that's your motivation and you get a message from somebody like me who's like, why are you different? And I don't believe you. Usually you just be like, delete. It's not worth the.
Or leave unread.
Yeah,
because I don't have that counter.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the information.
Because you don't know why you're different, number one. Or number two, my story doesn't matter to you. You're just trying to get your money, get the bag, as they say, or whatever the term is. But so one, the fact that you responded said something, and the fact that you responded in the tone that you did, I think said a lot. But what was interesting to me about that conversation was everything I expected you to say, you didn't, right? So it was like, I'd been working with someone before that, never spoken to them, right? It was just, I saw their videos, I saw their commercials on Instagram or their ads and all this stuff, and buy this thing and it's a course and you go through it and it'll teach you everything you need to know. And so I got through it and I paid for it. And then after you pay for it, you pay for this kind of residual throughout the months, right? Just you can ask questions in the Facebook group. So I was like, okay. So I paid for that. None of the classes gave me anything that I needed to know, right? It wasn't anything that I hadn't already figured out.
Right.
But that wasn't working. So clearly that wasn't enough. So then when I was doing the, pay a little bit more each month type of thing, I would ask questions in this person's Facebook group, and all of the answers came from some random bot thing or some random virtual assistant from some other country where they don't even have our credit system.
Oh my gosh.
And I was just like, and what was crazy was they were just like, yeah. And I remember, this won't surprise you at all. I remember being in that Facebook group and the person kept responding and I was like, I'm not talking to you. Like, I didn't pay you.
Yeah.
Your face is not at the head of this thing. I'm not asking you this question.
Oh my gosh.
I'm specifically asking the person who claims to have all the information this question, right? Never heard from that person, ever.
That's nuts.
And so luckily there was somebody else in that group who kind of chimed in and was like, hey, I know a little bit more. I figured it out. Let me help you do this one thing or whatever. But so anyway, so that was the first thing. When I sent that message to you, I had been in your Facebook group, kind of the free group, and had seen other stuff, but I saw like you were talking to people. You were answering people. And I was just like, huh, okay. I'm going to send her a message and see what happens.
Let me see if I actually get her.
Yeah, and sure enough, not only did I get you, I got your voice in a voice recording.
Yeah.
And I was just, so that automatically was like, oh, this is a little different. Okay, let's see. Now, at that point, I still don't know if you know anything. I still don't know if you're better.
Right.
But I know that you took 5 seconds to send me a recording and be like, what do you need? What are you trying to do? Right.
Absolutely.
So anyway, so that was the first thing I think that got us started.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole lot of red flags.
Yeah.
Whole lot of red flags. Yeah. And one of the red flags is, from my perspective, is we're paying all these little dollars
for a long time.
And where are the results?
Yeah.
Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, I mean, I don't know, how famous is this person to where they can't even respond back or show up in a group? Red flag number two. Number three, and this is probably it's probably going to hurt some people. But number 3, when you're in a group and you have the other people in that group giving you a billion different answers,
yeah,
and they're not consistent,
yeah,
then who is the coach that's actually training and teaching to where all of the answers should have been the same?
right. Yeah, no, that's a great point, because everybody should have learned the same thing.
Everybody should have learned the fact.
Great point.
Everybody should have learned the thing.
Yeah.
So if you've got somebody that's like, well, maybe you should do this, and maybe you should do that, maybe you should do this, and you got like 5 different answers, then who's learning anything?
Right.
And
why is the coach not jumping in and going, hey, so those aren't actually right. Here's the thing.
Or complimenting, like, you nailed it.
Yeah, great job.
Great job.
Yeah,
I am so proud you took everything I taught you and have actually given it to the world.
Absolutely.
And so let's talk about the difference with my group.
Yeah.
While, because I'm in those groups too, and sometimes I got to exit because I'm like, this is just too much for me. Like, I can't save all of y'all.
Right.
But everybody is so quick to, let's search on Facebook, credit repair, credit whatever, and they go to the 10,000 plus people group.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go in there, what's the content?
Yeah.
What's the content?
Yeah.
What are you learning? Again, you're putting yourself in an environment where, do you really want to be a product of that environment if it's nothing but nonsense?
Right.
Or people selling stuff?
Right.
Who's the owner of the group?
Right.
Which, shout out to the EmpowerYou Financial Facebook group page. I've got almost 3,000 people.
Right.
I don't care that I got almost 3,000 people, because the 3,000 that I do have, they're learning some stuff.
Yeah.
And they're taking my teachings and sharing it with their networks, their families, their, colleagues. Mm-hmm. Again, for me, it's not about the numbers, it's about impact.
Yeah.
But those are some red flags.
Yeah. Well, and it's, when you say it's not about the numbers, it's not about the impact. I mean, it's about the impact. What I was learning from the previous program, if that's what you want to call it, it wasn't helping me. Like, I couldn't I think I'm a fairly intelligent person, and
you
so
are.
If you give me,
why you're here,
hence
why I said
no. I'm not saying that to be arrogant. I'm just saying if someone gives me a plan and it's spelled out, I have no problem following it.
Yes.
And if there's something that doesn't make sense to me or I don't understand, I have no problem forming a question in a way that if you give me the answer, I can keep moving, right?
Absolutely.
And so when I'm looking at this other program, and I'm just like, if it's not moving me in anywhere, this isn't me. Like, I know how to understand this stuff, and this is not it. And so I feel even worse for people who don't understand this stuff, right? Like, there are people who don't even understand how to read their credit report.
Yeah.
Right. And I didn't for years. Yeah. But when I figured it out, it was like, oh, okay, this is what I'm looking for, and this is what's important. And oh, that thing down there where it's a bunch of red and looks like it's scary stuff. Okay, I don't have to worry about that because that's super old now. Like, but you don't know all that. You're just looking at what you're looking at, and you're doing the best you can. And that's the other thing. For people who don't know, I'm not insulting them or their intelligence at all. We don't know what we don't know.
Absolutely.
Right? And I spent a lot of time looking at credit reports and trying to find an answer and whatever, and getting nothing. Right? Did I ever tell you about my favorite credit repair purchase I've ever made in my life?
Oh no!
So
only on purpose you didn't tell me that.
Yeah, probably. I can say it now because my credit's good, but. Yes. I don't even remember how old I was. I just remember being super frustrated. I mean, I had no idea what I was doing. I knew I was in debt, and not crazy debt, but enough to make it uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't get approved for a credit card to save my life. Even the ones that people were like, oh, don't worry, go down to Jimmy's clothing store. He gives everybody a credit card. Like, I'd go to Jimmy's clothing store and he'd be like, everybody but you, dog. Sorry. Oh, no. So I couldn't figure it out at all. And so I saw this thing, and it was like, it basically sold itself as a credit repair kit. Buy this thing. It's only $240.
Dang, that much?
All the answers you need. Yeah, this was before. Well, this wasn't social media wasn't what it was now.
Oh, that's right.
So this wasn't
this
the
was a while ago.
buy $7 and I'll give you the whole game, and buy $9 I give you the whole game. Like none of that existed.
Yeah.
So this was a for real old school advertisement. We will send you the kit in the mail. Yeah. You got it. I'm like, it's about time. About time somebody has the answer.
I remember the story. I know where it's going.
Right? So
oh, I'm sorry.
It's about time somebody has the answer. So I paid my little $240. I don't even know where I got it from. But I'm like sitting by the mailbox like a kid waiting for a letter from Santa. Like I can't wait. And I get it. And it's a box. It's a little box. You open the box and it's like this letter. Congratulations. You've made a great decision. You are well on your way to fixing your credit. And below that letter is just a bunch of what is basically junk mail flyers of all different kinds of random credit cards, random programs, finger hut stuff. Like literally somebody sat at home, got a bunch of junk mail, kept it, photocopied it, and then sold it to other people for $240.
What?
When I tell you,
oh my gosh,
the level of, I don't think you curse on this podcast, so like I was real mad. Let's just say that. But it was crazy. It was, and I was frustrated. Yeah. I felt stupid, to be honest. Like I felt like I'd been made a fool of.
Yeah.
And even worse, like who do you tell? Like I have never told that story to anyone other than maybe you and a couple other people, because like you just feel so had, if you will, defeated. Like defeated. And I was just like, man, and but so then you just get caught up in this like, well, it is what it is. It's never gonna get better. Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing.
And then you give up.
It's not made for me.
And then you accept, you know what?
This is how it's gonna be.
This is how it's gonna be.
I'm gonna ride with this 558 for the rest of my life. Right?
No.
But you don't know any better, right?
No,
and everyone that you contact who says they can do better never gets you in a better position. And so it gets super frustrating.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I was happy that I found you, because even within our first, what did we? I really wish I could remember our first conversation. I just remember, being someone who, like I said, I read a lot, I watch a lot, I study a lot. So I try to be smart. I try to learn things. I try to know what I'm talking about. But to get on the phone with you and all this fire that you have, which, as you said, is completely opposite of my style. You're on the phone and you're like, hey, what's up? What's going on? Tell me about yourself. And I'm just like, yo, calm down. Like, we're talking about credit. Like, Jesus. And so.
Because I already see into the future where you're going to be. You're going to be amazing. And you're going to be excited. Yeah, and you're going to be like, now I get why she does what she does.
Yeah, I didn't at first. That's for sure. I was scared to death. But yeah, we had that first conversation. And what was cool for me was I had studied so much and I had learned so much, and none of what I had learned was necessarily wrong, but you were able to show me how it was only right for where I was when I learned it, but it wasn't going to get me to where I was trying to go. Do you know what I'm saying?
That part.
So yeah, there were things I had learned, and they'd help me, and they'd help me pay off some debt, and they'd help me whatever, but they weren't helping me build credit. They weren't helping me build a line of credit for my business. It wasn't helping me do any of that, and none of that information was going to. And so it was really good for you to be able to come in and say, everything you said might have been right for what you needed to do then.
Yeah.
But none of that matches what you just told me you want to accomplish. Now you need to learn a whole new set of things.
Absolutely.
And so that's when I was like, okay, let's go. Maybe I'll be jumping up and super excited like you are when I'm done, but I wanted to see what happened. So
and that's super important, because a lot of people will Google their way to stuff.
Oh Lord, I tried.
Google, YouTube University.
I tried.
You know, phone a friend.
Hey.
Maybe that friend ain't got. They shouldn't be telling you stuff.
You know how many broke credit experts I know? Hey.
So at the end of the day, it is acknowledging that every person is individual. They have their own score, their own financial journey. And that's another thing that sets me apart from everybody else, is while everybody else is selling the cookie cutter credit repair services.
Oh, yeah.
That most likely won't work for you.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, a person's credit score is their own mathematical formula.
Yep.
No credit reports are identical.
Yep.
Nobody has the same accounts open the same time with the same history. No.
Yep.
So why are we paying money to people that'll improve our credit by selling us stuff that is made for the general population? That's nuts.
Yeah.
Which is why I created the game plan.
Yeah. One of the things that happened that I thought was amazing was we did an individual credit consult, right? So instead of, like you said, instead of you saying, hey, give me this much money and I'll send you this packet and it'll tell you everything to do, you were like, no, it's, first of all, it's going to cost a little bit more than this magical packet you want. But when you're done, you will know exactly what to do. And even then, if you remember, I was like, man, I heard that before too. Like, I'm not believing anything.
You were a tough sale.
But when we hung up that phone and we got off that, or I think it was a Zoom call, when we got off that call,
yep.
I don't even know if I've ever told you this. I printed out the game plan and literally like pinned it on my board at home because it was the first time, and I was 39, 40 years old already. I mean, we've known each other for a few years, and so 40 easily. I was 40, and at 40 years old, it was the first time where I was like, I think I know how to fix my credit.
Yeah,
like for real. I think I actually know what to do to have good credit. And so, long story short, 558. I may have been a little bit higher when I met you. So maybe right at 600 something, 610, 611, something like that. I think the last screenshot I sent you of my credit score was 801. And I was like, do you remember what I said? I was like, hey, I had to send you this screenshot. I finally hit 801 and I sent it to you. And you're like, oh, that's amazing, blah, blah, blah. And then the next day I was like, hey, I look, it's still 801.
Yes. I'm like, it's not going away.
Yeah, I thought it was an accident. I was like, I think they gave me somebody else's points, but I'm going to take them.
And for you guys who are listening, and this, will go up on the YouTube channel. I need you to like replay the smile on his face.
Yeah.
When you felt for the first time in 39, 40 years old,
yep.
I think I got it.
Yeah.
And that level of confidence and the posture
yep.
you now have when operating financial decisions,
yep.
like that's a whole
changes
vibe.
The game. Completely changes the game. And what's even more so for anyone who's listening who has kids or who, is at kind of the same age I was at, and there's this, because there's also this belief of like, well, if I haven't gotten it by now, right? Like, again, what does that even look
defeat.
Like? Or you've taught your kids all the stuff you've known, right? So I was always taught, don't use credit cards. Credit cards are the devil. Cut them up, don't use them. Mm-hmm. So what did I teach my kids? Don't use credit cards. Whatever you do, don't get a credit card. Yep. Then I work with you. I fix my stuff. Next thing you know, I'm talking to my kids. I'm like, all right, so here's the deal. You're signed on to 4 cards. On your 18th birthday, your score should be at least over 750. Don't do anything. We're going to do this. Oh, you want to do that? Let's make it a business so we can get you some business credit. And they're like, who are you? Like,
yes.
Literally, that's the exact opposite of what you've told us your whole life. And the best thing and the best feeling, and I say this to any parent out there, the best feeling I ever had was when I looked at my kids and I was like, well, I was wrong. Yeah. But guess what? Mm-hmm. We about to figure it out right now. And I had no problem admitting it. Listen, yep, everything we were told was for a reason.
Yep.
And it's because it's what I was told. It's because that's what they were told. Or it's because somebody else did something with a credit card, and that's what. But
generational information being handed down.
Yep.
That isn't always the best.
No. And it doesn't tell the whole story.
And it doesn't tell the whole
and
story.
It doesn't change for the situation. Maybe when my, grandmother or grandfather only made minimum wage and was taking the bus to work and was just happy to put food on the table, maybe a credit card was not right for that life. Or maybe they couldn't have gotten a credit card, right? Or maybe they got one and they maxed it out because they were just trying to survive. Well, that's not my situation.
Right.
But to your point, I'm still using that same advice. I'm using advice that's older than me about a life that I live a life they couldn't have even imagined.
Right.
So why am I using their rules, if you will, for this life?
Absolutely.
Right. And so yeah, it was crazy. It's been crazy. The whole, it's so wild. Like, and I know you told me we wanted to talk about me, and I also feel bad because I'm like, I'm sure people are like, can he shut up? I want to hear Eva. But like,
no, this is good.
Yeah.
This is good because at the end of the day, there are people out there that are just like you.
Yeah. No, it's
where, they're committed because they've been paying for a service, hoping their score is going to improve, hoping their credit is going to get rebuilt. But they're not ready to walk away because of all the money they've invested already. They just want to keep hanging on. And let's just see if it works. No.
Well, I will tell those people the only thing, I get it because I felt the same way.
Yeah.
But the only thing worse than feeling stupid about losing $10 is doing the same thing you did and waking up tomorrow realizing you lost 20.
Yes.
Like, I get it.
And that's minimal because.
No, and I'm just using that as an easy number.
Definitely.
But I get that feeling. I get that feeling of like, well, Eva, that lady, she sounds good, but my credit repair person said just pay them for 6 more months and then it'll work. And I'm just like, no, stop. Like, and so that was the other thing. You told me, you were like, do this, do that, still pay this thing, don't pay that thing, whatever it was. And if somebody sends you a DM about it, I will literally send them my credit report and my game plan and show them what you told me. I'm going to take my social off because it's actually worth something now. But remember I told you that? I used to say back in the day, people were like, what about identity theft? I'm like, can't nobody do nothing with this credit. We're good.
Surprised.
Now,
surprised.
But yeah, so, but I remember you gave me the game plan and I mean, instantly is probably a little bit unrealistic word, but when you've been trying to figure something out for 10 years, 45 days is pretty much instant.
Yes.
Right? And so I did what you said. Mm-hmm. I stopped doing what you told me to stop doing. Mm-hmm. And I made the little tweaks that you told me to make. And like instantly, what I consider instantly, it was like, yo, I think this is working. Like,
and I knew. I'm like, I'm going to send in this game plan.
Because I still didn't believe you.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely. But I was like, that's my like internal satisfaction is I'm going to send him this game plan. And he's going on purpose to do it.
Just to prove you wrong.
Just to prove me wrong.
100%.
Just to prove me wrong. Yep. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's see.
Yep. Yep. In fact, if I remember correctly, I don't know if you remember this, we did have a hiccup, and I was ready to throw in the towel.
Yes.
There was something you had told me to do. I think it was something you told me to apply for, and I applied, and I got denied. And I was like, I knew it. I knew you didn't know what you were talking about. And you're like, wait, tell me this, tell me that, tell me that. And I'm like, yeah, no, well, you're like, well, look at this. And I was like, yeah, that. And you were like, you didn't tell me that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and I'm like, fine, whatever. So, and that same thing, that same application that I got denied for, again, crazy. And I'm going to share a little bit of your game. And I apologize because I know people have to pay for it, but whatever.
Go.
You were like, no, tweak that thing or get that cleared up and then call them and ask for a reconsideration. And I was like, call who? And you're like, call the credit card company and explain to them this, and that, and ask them to reconsider. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, is that even a thing?
Yeah.
And you're like, no, yeah.
Inside the Lions Club.
Yeah. And I was just like, it completely blew my mind that, like, because again, all of us look at the credit card companies as this big monster who are just trying to take your money, and it's a trap and whatever. And when you said call them and tell them to reconsider, I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever. And I did it, and they were like, oh, here you go, $11,000. I was like, what? Huh? $11,000 credit limit. First one. I was like, this is not real. Like, even a broke clock is right twice a day, right? So I was like, nah, we'll see. And fast forward, I don't know if you remember this. I called you and told you. When we first started, you told me about like the Fab Five, right? The key cards that you need to have in your portfolio to build credit or whatever.
Yep.
And one of them is the American Express. And I remember I only saw rich people with American Expresses when I was growing up. I don't even know if I saw one in real life, but like on TV or whatever. Yeah. And I remember when you were telling me about those Fab, what you call the Fab Five cards, I remember saying to you, like, well, let's just take American Express off the list. Like, I'll never get that one. You were like, no, I'm like, no, come on. Like, you're good. You don't have to lie to me. I'm never going to get the American Express. You were like, oh, we'll see over time. And I called you on my 43rd birthday, this previous birthday, and I was like, yo. No, in fact, do you remember what I said? I called you and I said, hey, so I got this thing for the American Express. Should I apply for it? And you're like, let's check the numbers, make sure everything's good. Yep. I gave you the numbers. You're like, yeah, apply. And so I applied while you were on the phone.
I love
it. You remember this?
I love it. I think it's one of my favorite stories.
I applied while you were on the phone.
Yep.
And you're like, what'd they say? I was like, I don't think I got it. And you're like, well, what does it say? It's asking me if I like to make a username or something. You're like, that's because you got it, dummy. Like I was like, for real? You're like, why would they ask you to make a username if you're not? And I was like, oh, I guess you're right. So but I still didn't really believe you. Clicked through, made the username. And sure enough, it was like, here's your temporary number, cards in the mail, whatever. That card was in the mail. I had it 24 hours later. I was like, this might be the best birthday gift I've ever gotten in my life. Especially when I called you and was like, hey, they didn't put the limit on here. What is it? And you were like,
that's what I remember.
They don't have no limit for that one. I was like,
that's the Amex Platinum. Welcome to the no limit lifestyle.
Yo, listen. But that's what I mean. And so, like, it's cool. We're sitting up here talking now and it's whatever. But like that's not scripted. Like, that's my life. Like, for real. I did not know you from Adam 3 years ago. Fast forward, we're sitting here talking about my Amex Platinum card.
Yeah.
We're sitting here. When did you help me get my business credit? Like less than a month ago. And so now I've got business credit cards. And now here's what's funny, because people hear that and they're like, oh, I'll just credit how much debt you're in. 0.
Yeah.
I'm in. Let me not tell that lie. My house, my student loans, because you haven't figured out the magical pill for that one yet. But
it's coming.
I know, right?
It's coming.
But 0 credit card debt.
Yeah.
I have no credit card debt, and I have more credit cards than I've ever had in my life. I have more access to credit than I've ever had in my life, and I have no debt. And it's because, yes, you teach us how to get the cards and you teach us how to grow the credit, but you also teach people the behaviors that sustain that, because you can also lose it.
Absolutely.
Right? Like,
real quick.
Yeah.
If you're not a good steward of your finances, getting all these credit cards is just going to get you into trouble.
100%.
So, that's a part of the coaching program and the constant, check-ins, the accountability, we're going to get this card for a purpose and an intention. And what is it? It is to strategically build a credit portfolio.
Yep.
It is to have access to available credit limits when we need them. And it's building relationships with the Fab Five, the top 5 banks that matter when you want to do the bigger and better things.
Yeah.
And again, it depends on what your goals are. And, you know, you had different goals that you wanted to tackle. So, for example, our initial call was the onboarding call. Mm-hmm. This is where I'm interviewing you. Mm-hmm. You know, what do you want to do? What do you desire to have? What are your financial goals? Yep. Where do you want to be? And I just let you talk. And as you're talking in my head, I'm organizing, okay, we got to do this, 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 and this strategically. Mm-hmm. And this is what's super important, guys, is again, you Google and you get answers, but you don't know if it's the answer for you at that right time.
100%.
And if you noticed, you were like, can I apply for this? Am I ready? I got this offer in the mail, but I move when coach says to move.
Yep.
That's important.
Yep.
Because even though you get pre-approved offers in the mail, don't mean you are 100% approved.
Yeah.
What people don't realize is those pre-approved offers have nothing to do with your credit.
Yeah.
They're not pulling your credit scores.
Right.
It's demographic.
Yeah.
It's age, nationality, zip code. Are you a homeowner? Are you a renter?
They applied for a house, so now let's send them some credit.
Yes,
yeah,
because they're assuming nothing to do with credit, just demographic.
Yep.
So just because you get it doesn't mean it's foolproof.
Yeah.
It's based on what your credit looks like. Not even just looking at scores, but portfolio. Mm-hmm. Who do you have? Mm-hmm. What are your habits? Mm-hmm. Do you have zero balances? Are you maxing things out?
Yeah.
So,
and that was a crazy thing to learn, is that it wasn't just about applying for credit cards. It was what card, when, why, how to use it, yes. How much more time to leave before applying for the next card. Because, so think about it like this: if you're somebody who's never had good credit, and all of a sudden you get good credit by your own standards, and you go, oh, I'm gonna apply for everything before I mess up my credit again, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, even learning that, like, everything about it is systematic. And so the way that you understand it and the way that you show it and teach it just blew my mind, because it made sense. It was very, what feels like a very complicated thing for a lot of people, just credit in and of itself. Yeah. You broke down very systematically. Here is why. Here's why we're going to do this. Here's why we're not going to do that. I understand you want to do this, but that step has to be third, not first, yes. Or whatever. And so, and as much as someone like me wants to say, I mean, I heard you, but I could just run through steps 1 through 6 real quick. Mm-hmm. I respected and I trusted you enough to say, okay, like, because when we did the first thing, it's like, okay, the first thing worked, so let me just do it. And then when the second thing didn't, I was like, but then it worked. And mm-hmm. so then I didn't doubt when you would say, no, give it 60 days. Here's why. No, don't do that yet. Wait till tomorrow sometimes, right? Like simple, very simple, nuanced things that I would argue credit repair people online who bought some box course about how to teach credit repair have no idea about. In fact, I saw one the other day, an ad on Instagram where a guy was selling the course to do credit repair, right? Like, he's not a credit repair person. Well, he might be, but he was selling, you can be a credit repair person right now and build your own business. And it very specifically said, no experience or good credit needed. And I'm thinking to myself,
what in the world?
Right. Like, what? Like, so, and I know they say there are those that do and those that teach. That doesn't apply to my money. Like, you can use that for a lot of other stuff. Yes. That does not apply to my money. And so yeah, it was good to see how what you did worked, how systematic it was, and how it got me to where I am right now. And I will be forever grateful. Like I said, my kids, their stuff will be different. My grandkids' stuff will be different. Like, I get to change the generational information that I pass on. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And
absolutely.
So that means more than anything. That means more than any of my credit limits, any of my cards, any of my points. I do have a lot of points, though.
You got a lot of points.
But being able to look at my children and look at my grandchildren and say, listen, we get to play the game that the people on the other side of the tracks play.
Yeah.
Because now I know how to play it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That changed everything. Everything. So for that, I am eternally grateful.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What's I was trying to think. I feel like there was one more part of the story you wanted me to tell, but I can't remember. I don't know. I've had so many stupid credit situations.
Yeah.
Oh, the house.
Yeah, I was hoping we'd get there.
Well, wait. Which house story are you talking about?
Let's start with house number 1.
How crazy is that? Which house story?
Which house story? Man, people think we playing over here.
The fact that even came out of my mouth. Which house story? Like, what?
All right, let's tell the people. Let's tell the people.
So, the funny thing is, I'm talking about the trying to buy the house with my Credit Karma score.
Yeah, let's start there. I don't want to laugh.
I'm not even talking about the actual house yet.
Yes, let's that's good.
The Credit Karma story?
Yes.
So, and this is before I met you.
Yep.
This was one of the final straws that broke the camel's back to get me to reach out to you. But I had been paying off debt, right? I had been following the pay off your debt, snowball method, whatever, getting all my debt taken care of. And so I finally did it. Finally cleared everything off. I think I might have had one collections left, but I didn't really know what to do with it till we started working together. But anyway, everything else was pretty much taken care of. So I had Credit Karma at the time, which I think I told you I still have just to get mad at them. But I had Credit Karma at the time, and I pull it up, and it says, "Congratulations, your score has gone up. You have a 685." And I was like, I'm about to go buy a house.
Yes.
So, because everyone I'd ever talked to, especially because I was in the military, so I was fortunate enough to be able to use a VA loan and those types of things. So people would be like, "Oh, with your VA loan, you can get between 620 and 650. You're good." So I'm like, "Yo, Credit Karma said I got 35 points to spare. I'm good." So I call a friend of mine who's a realtor. He puts me in touch with a lender that he has. Give the guy my information. He's like, "Give me 24 hours. I'll hit you back." Next day, he's like, "Hey, it's not going to be able to work." And I was like, "Wait, what do you mean?" "But I don't understand." He's like, "Yeah, no, you were denied."
No.
I was like,
no.
"Yeah, no. So I don't know what system you're using, but I have a 685, so I'm okay." He's like, "No." He's like, "Actually, you have a 598, 607," and I was like, "Yeah, no. So that might be old." I paid off some stuff, and Credit Karma said I have a 685.
Oh no.
No, sir. No. I said, "You know what? Don't even worry about it." I called another lender. I was like, "Hey, they tripping. I got a 685, so let's do this house." They run it. "So you're denied." I'm like, what is happening right now, right?
Yeah.
That's when I reach out to you. And one of the first things you told me was like, "Where'd you get your credit score?" I was like, "Credit Karma." You were like, "You fool." I was like,
I did not say you fool.
Well,
but I was
would have now, but
yes.
But I was just like, I was devastated.
And so many people are.
Yeah.
It's that I made it. And then you go do the thing, and then it's like dagger in the heart.
Yep.
Complete disappointment.
Yep.
And why is that? It's because Credit Karma does not use a FICO score.
Yeah.
They don't use the same mathematical formula that the banks do.
Yeah.
So you got to look and compare apples to apples.
Yeah.
The only time and I've got the Credit Karma app on my phone too. I don't get as many notifications on that one as I do the Experian one.
Yes.
And not only that, Credit Karma is only giving you Equifax and TransUnion, only 2 of the 3 bureaus. But most importantly, that credit score ranges from 400 to 950. That's 100 points off.
Yeah.
FICO is 300 to 850.
Yeah.
And it is a complete different calculation. So at the end of the day, if you truly want to see where your credit scores are, you have to look at FICO scores.
Yeah.
Because that's what the banks are using.
Yep.
But again, another reason, another place that people are at because they just don't know.
Yeah.
And that's why you got to get with the right people.
Yeah.
For you, your situation,
Yeah.
what goals you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Because credit and finances is not cookie cutter.
No.
There's a whole lot of variables.
Yep.
And there is no situation that is the same between people. So let's talk about the next house situation.
Wait, which house do you want to talk about? The current one?
Absolutely.
So
That's the icing on a cake.
yeah, buddy.
That's like
so,
the graduation of the Lions program.
Yeah, that's true. I'm waiting on my cap and gown pictures right now. Do I get a diploma? Do I get a certificate?
I don't know. I'm trying to still figure out if we're going to get the actual picture in front of the house.
In front of my house?
Yes.
Nah, I'm not taking pictures in front of my house. People can't know where I live.
Guys, let's vote. Let's vote. Do we want to see Damian in front of his house?
Sure you don't.
Yes.
Sure you don't.
Congratulations.
In fact, if
You
you vote
homeowner.
if you vote no, I'll
Stop
let
it.
you come in the house.
Stop. Stop.
So I just got the keys for a brand new house. And so let me clarify. By brand new, I don't mean like I never lived there before. This is new to me. I mean, I picked the floors and the counter. It was dirt 6 months ago, 7 months ago, whatever it was.
Brand new construction
So
home.
for real, brand new home. No one has ever lived in it but me. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. I want to call that first lender back and be like, see, I told you Credit Karma said I can get a house. But I didn't do it. No, yeah. No, it's I mean, you're looking at a guy who, for anybody who's looking at this on YouTube, but for the rest of you, you're listening to a guy who literally 3 years ago, maybe 600, maybe 610 score, no idea how to pay for a house, how to get a house. Definitely wouldn't have thought I could ever get a new house, like a brand new, no one ever lived in it house. I mean, again, we're talking about no credit cards, or not even no credit cards, not great credit cards, right? I had the Kohl's card and the Macy's card, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
But we're talking about from that to brand new build, no one's ever set foot in my house but me type of progression. And oh, by the way, $100,000 of open credit, the Amex Platinum, almost a total of 1 million points across a couple of different cards, business credit that is helping me grow the things that my own separate ventures and whatever. I mean, it's a whole different world. My kids all have credit scores that are good. It's just a whole different world. And so yeah, I mean, you want to talk about a graduate? I feel like you got me my PhD in the credit game.
Yes.
And I am grateful.
Let's go.
Yeah, no, I'm grateful. My life is forever changed. And that's why I'm here. When you asked me to do this, no brainer, because, I truly, like you said, anybody who is or was me.
Yeah.
And I don't care how old you are, but if you're having any of those thoughts, I want them to know, this is for real, for real. You can say it, and they're going to be like, well, of course she says it because she's trying to sell me something. No, listen, I'm telling you, I'm that guy. I'm the guy that's you're full of it. I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to pick it apart. I'm going to find every hole. All of that.
Yep.
And here I stand, 800 score, brand new house. This is it. I graduated for real.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you for being an awesome student.
Yeah. Thank you for being a pretty good teacher.
Yeah.
And dealing with the bad kid in the back of the class.
That one. A couple times I wanted to kick you out.
Yeah.
But I think that is super important. And I appreciate you sharing the journey.
Yeah.
And how can you not? It's all exciting stuff. It's all transformational. And we're not going to stop there.
No, absolutely not.
I mean, new build is definitely dope. Yeah. But there's just so much more. And I think that's what's most important is understanding that there's always room to grow. Mm-hmm. There's always new, the world shifts, economy shifts. The question is who's going to be in your corner guiding you during or through the life events and the shifts in the economy and the bumps in the road to still keep you on track.
But the biggest shift, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, the biggest shift that matters is people being willing to make a mental shift.
Yes.
Like what you know may not be what you need to know, what you've been told. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying your grandma didn't tell you the right thing. I'm not saying that because your dad had cash for everything that he didn't do it the right way. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that information will only get you as far as you've gotten. That's how we get to where we are.
Absolutely.
So I think the biggest shift is being open to the idea that maybe there is a different way to do this.
Yep.
And once you can open up to that, changes the game completely.
Absolutely.
Completely changes the game.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
I'm excited that you've definitely transformed. I'm excited that you're a part of the podcast because I think you can I believe you can add a whole lot, just definitely a whole new vibe, but most importantly, that level of transparency, that level coming from, I pick things apart.
Absolutely.
Like, we're not here to play.
Oh, yeah, no. I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
This is going to be different. People at home going to be like, do they like each other? Because he is mean. Like,
you sure you want him as your co-host?
Right. But I want people to know. Like, I want them to
Absolutely.
see the process I went through to be like, no, this is for real.
Yes.
But I'm going to make you prove it to me.
Absolutely.
And hopefully that's what they get out of it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. I think it's going to be fun.
It's definitely going to be fun.
Cool. Well, hey, everybody. Sorry, I monopolize all the time. Next time we're going to get back to Eva talking all of it. I'm just going to listen. But no, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching if you're on YouTube. We will see you at the next episode.
Thanks, guys.
Take a look at what you see, what I become. It ain't hard to tell. Young legend, I'm an icon.